Welcome back. President Trump signing a sweeping executive order which will create a single national AI regulation standard. It overrides stricter state rules and gives Washington control of the regulatory framework of AI. It also creates a federal task force challenging state AI laws. Joining me right now is the White House AI and crypto czar, David Sachs. David, it's great to have you this morning. Welcome, and thanks so much for spending the time.
Thanks, Maria. Good to be here.
Walk us through what the president is trying to do with this executive order. How different are some states' regulations and laws concerning AI to the extent that the president actually had to be clear and concise about one model overriding everything and being the national standard?
Well, that's right, Maria. I mean, here's the problem that we have is that there's currently 1,000 bills going through state legislatures right now. Over 100 measures have passed. Some of them are contradictory, and it's creating this confusing patchwork of 50 different state regulatory regimes. And that's hard for innovators to follow, especially small startups, little tech. It's very hard for them to go to 50 different states and try and comply. So what the president has called for here is a single federal standard for AI regulation. We've declared that we're going to work with Congress on that. At the end of the day, we would like Congress to develop and pass that set of laws. This EO contains a statement of principles, and it also creates a set of tools to push back on state regulations that are excessively onerous. But we're not saying that we're going to push back on everything. For example, we want to protect child safety. We're not going to interfere with the rights of communities to say whether they want data centers, for example, or not. Those are local prerogatives. We're not pushing back on those things. But if there are state regulations that are excessive or onerous, then those are the things that we want to push back on.
So what are the onerous type things that you're referring to? I can understand somebody saying, look, a data center, I don't want it in my backyard. I don't want this, industrial type, building or residence right next to my neighborhood. Is that what you're talking about in terms of you're not going to be pushing back on that? So where are the most rule making and which states that you want to look at and ensure that that doesn't challenge the national standard?
Sure. So first of all, you're right. Infrastructure is a completely separate issue. We're not touching that. Let me give you a couple of examples on the rulemaking. So right now in New York, Kathy Hochul herself has just said that the RAISE Act that they just passed to regulate AI is too different from what's happening in other states, and she's wondering whether they should just replace it with what was passed in California, which was SB 53. So even Democrat governors are realizing there's a problem here and saying that maybe we need to try and synchronize on one standard. That SB 53 that I mentioned in California, what that does is require tech companies to report various things to the government. And you can imagine that there's there could be 50 different definitions of what to report, who to report to, when to report. It's going to be very confusing if every state goes their own way. So this is why it'd be a lot better to have one federal standard. Now, let me give you another example. In Colorado, they passed a law that prohibits what they call algorithmic discrimination. If an AI developer creates a model that has what they call a disparate impact on a protected group, then that could be illegal. Well, their list of protected groups is very long. It even includes people who are not proficient in the English language. So presumably, if your AI model says something bad about an illegal alien in Colorado, that could be illegal. Well, that we consider to be interference with the First Amendment. We don't like the idea of ideology being inserted or required in AI models. We saw that during the Biden administration where they tried to require that DEI be put in AI models. We don't like that. We want AI to remain ideologically unbiased. We want it to pursue the truth, not an ideological agenda. So that would be an example of an excessive regulation that we would look at pushing back on First Amendment grounds.
Yeah. This is a really important point that you're making, David, because that, if you don't do that, it opens yourself up, and all of AI opens itself up to getting political. Once again, politics lacing another very important issue in our country. And you tweeted out that there will be an FTC effort to curb state attempts to force AI models to alter their truthful outputs.
Right, that's right. I mean, look, I think that there's a First Amendment issue here when states are trying to require that AI developers try to twist or adjust their models to produce deceptive outputs in order to meet a political agenda in that state. And that's the kind of thing we want to push back on. We don't want to see woke AI. Earlier in this term, the president signed an executive order to say that the federal government would not be procuring woke AI, which we would define as politically biased or highly ideological AI. And we want to see the same thing at the state level as well.
Well, it also makes sense that this is at a federal level because the United States as a country is competing with China to be number one in terms of AI. Assess that competition right now, David. Where is China versus the United States on AI?
Well, we're ahead in the AI race, but China is very competitive. They obviously have a lot of talented people. They have a lot of developers, but I think we're well ahead. But we're not going to stay ahead if our innovators and our startups have to comply with 50 different regulatory regimes. Imagine if you have to go to every different state and hire lawyers to basically set up your company if it's an AI company. If you have to report to 50 different state regulators at 50 different times with 50 different definitions, it's extremely onerous, and it's going to slow down innovation, and it's going to hinder our progress in the AI race. So if we want to stay in the lead, as President Trump has declared, we need to have a single national standard, one standard for AI, so that the most onerous states, the most draconian ones, can't hold you up. And that is what the president has called for. We want to work with Congress on this. We're not just doing this unilaterally. We're saying that we want to work with Congress on this. And the president has talked to a number of senators about this. And we want to make progress on defining that federal standard together. But in the meantime, we're going to be willing to push back on the most excessive and onerous regulations like we talked about.
Yeah. So what are the important barriers or guardrails that you believe Americans need in place when using artificial intelligence?
Well, I think it's a good question, and that's what we're going to work with Congress to define. But, you know, what you hear a lot about is people have child safety concerns, and we're not doing anything to preempt state child safety laws. At some point, we might want to have a federal standard instead on that, but we have no desire to push back on child safety. Like I mentioned, we're not pushing back on state permitting laws with respect to infrastructure, data centers. We don't want to interfere with the rights of communities to determine what is in their community, obviously. But when it comes to AI model development, that is where we feel like we have to have a single federal standard.
And I think most AI players want to know that there is one consistent policy in Washington. You are there shaping policy. And I want to get your take on all the money that has moved into data centers. David, what are we up to now? 5,000 data centers in the United States right now?
Well, there's a lot. There's a big build out going on right now. Hundreds of billions of dollars are going into infrastructure, and it's projected to grow to even potentially $1 trillion a year of CapEx. And I think the key point here is that this is benefiting the entire economy. I think there's a little bit of a misperception that this AI boom only benefits software developers or software companies in Silicon Valley or so-called tech bros. What we're actually seeing is a huge boom that's benefiting construction workers. The Wall Street Journal had a good story on this just last week, that the wages of construction workers are up 30% because of this infrastructure build out. It's data centers, but it's also energy production. It's gas, it's fracking, it's nuclear, all the above, thanks to President Trump's policy, pro-energy policies of drill, baby, drill. So we're seeing this huge infrastructure build out, and it's benefiting people like plumbers, electricians, concrete pourers, drywall hangers, electricians, people who install equipment. It's really a broad-based boom, and that's what people need to understand about this.
And this is a really important point because there's a lot of fear out there right now about AI replacing people's jobs. People are saying, wait a second, I could be, out of this company because AI could do the job. And so I'm glad you mentioned that point about construction workers, electricians, et cetera. But there's still this overriding nervousness about all the money that's moved into data centers. I asked Jensen Huang about it, and we're seeing this play out in Wall Street. Look what happened to Oracle the other day, down 11%, and it's down again today, or Broadcom. Here's what Jensen Huang, the CEO and founder of Nvidia, said when I asked this very issue. Watch. Jensen, I want to get your take on all the money moving into the AI infrastructure build-out. How much are you expecting that to be, and will we see a return on investment in that money soon?
Artificial intelligence in the last year made some humongous breakthroughs. It is now effective, it's useful, it's generating really good results for users. It's impacting every single industry that we're observing. Everything from healthcare to, of course, enterprise computing, where we do work, and whether it's manufacturing, robotics, we're just seeing breakthroughs in every industry. That platform shift is just beginning, and we're just seeing it so strong and accelerating because now fundamentally, finally, AI is delivering really great results. And it's the reason why we're seeing the fastest growing companies in the world.
To your point, David, that this is broad-based in terms of industry and sector.
Yes, and Maria, I saw that news. I guess Oracle is down 11% one day, but it was up 25% another day. So whenever you're underwriting to a really big future, there's going to be a lot of volatility in that. And so we see that. But you can see that the overall trend line is towards this big infrastructure build out. It's about energy production. It's about these token factories, so-called. And so you see this infrastructure is being built out. And I think this is a huge advantage that America has, which is our capital markets are very adaptive. And when they see a revolutionary new technology that can lead to future job growth, future productivity, they will invest. And so you're seeing a very rapid shift in our economy. That's something that China doesn't actually have. They don't have capital markets that are as developed as ours. And I think this is a big advantage in the AI race.
That's a great point. We are watching in America and experiencing the deepest, most liquid capital markets in the world, the envy of the world. David, I want to take a short break and then come back. And when I come back, I'd love to get your take on specifically which industries you think are poised to get impacted the most by AI, and what should viewers do to ensure that they can thrive in this new revolution that we are experiencing. Stay with us. We are talking with the White House AI and crypto czar, David Sacks.